Hey everybody, good afternoon today. I just got to start by saying I think it's ironic that I wasn't able to get to do this until this point in the day. It's almost noon. Uh, Normally I do this really early in the morning, and it's just funny to me that today I'm going to talk about fire and the energy of fire, and that my day just kind of progressed in a way that now it's almost noon, which is the time of fire, and that's when its energy is at its height. And it's summertime, so right now it's even more at its height. So really noon this whole week is a great time to connect with the energy of fire. Even if you just go outside and you sit in the sun for a minute and you feel that warmth on your body, you feel it on your skin, your face, you look at it, you feel it, you be with that energy. That's a great time to connect with the energy of fire. And so let's talk about the energy of fire. We all know that fire is hot. It's an outward energy, an extrinsic energy. It is a masculine energy, the energy of the south. And I guess let's take a step back and let's talk about the energies of the elements. So all of the elements are literal physical things. Fire is a thing. We can hold, well, you can't really hold it, but you can hold a candle, you can see it, you can feel it. It's a literal thing. Water, air, earth, they're all literal things that you can hold and touch and see and feel and smell and all of those things and experience. But that literal thing that you see and you interact with is only a small part of the energy of fire in its whole. You have to think of it like the energy of fire is a complete whole person, a whole energy, an entity that is ancient, that, I mean, technically fire was the first element present on Earth and is what created the Earth. So if we go back to the very beginning of time, as this universe has been created and the Big Bang and the evolution of everything, so a star exploded, it created the Big Bang, which sent out, I don't know exactly all of those science things, but I don't think science knows all of those things. But it all comes back to that evolution of life and the circle of life. Something died, and in its death, it had this grand explosion, and it then created all that which we see and know today, just, billions of years ago. And that energy then transformed and transformed again and transformed again. And at some point throughout that history, there was another grand explosion when a giant projectile came and hit Earth. Well, what was Earth before? And then in that, there was a sensia. I'm probably saying that wrong. But anyways, what happened is that the two planets collided with such great force that there was an explosion grand enough that the planet that was Earth before was literally vaporized into a cloud and then rained back down. But this fire, this grand explosion, this accelerated energy that accelerated everything, it created the moon, it created the Earth as it was, and with the pull of the moon and this interaction of the magnets and the magnetic energy and all of the things that were happening, the Earth then became this volatile place where there were volcanoes and there was a lot of gas and explosions, and the Earth was consumed with fire pretty much. And as it metamorphed through that fire transition, it couldn't go back. And that's one of the energies of fire that is the most evident, I guess, but then also one of those ones that's kind of hard for us to connect with, because as things transition, you sometimes want to go back, but you can't untoast the toast, and you can't uncrack the egg, and you can't go back in time. And these are some of the things that fire teaches us. And it taught us this from the very beginning as it evolved the Earth and it created these changes, and it literally lit fires that then changed our atmosphere, that then created water and rain, which then turned the Earth into a place where we could live in. And it became this fertile ground that we know now. But it wasn't until there was a combination of all of the elements coming together in the times of before. And it's these same elements that we're connecting with now, that we work with now. And so when we say that the element of fire is fire, it does not encompass the vast energy that is fire. And I like to think of fire as the wise father who sits in the south. He is ever strong and ever present. He casts a giant shadow. He is, strong and nurturing. He brings about wisdom in a way that often is scorching. And that seems, it seems almost, I don't know, like, it's hard to say that the energy is both nurturing and will burn you. And I think that in like Norse mythology and the runes, when they talk about Kanaz and the energy of that fire, where it's fire as a tool, as a torch, but that torch can also burn you. Fire is both a tool and a danger. It's both sides of that line. And when it teaches us a lesson, it is often done in a way, one, that cannot be unlearned. You can't go back. When you ask for the energy and the honesty of fire, it's going to show it to you, and you can't go back. You can't unlearn that. It's like asking to find out from the elements if your spouse is cheating, is that once you get an answer, you can't go back from that. And that's how anything is with fire. If you ask fire a question, it's going to give you a very clear answer, and you can't unlearn it. So that's like when you're working with, I think one of the things that makes it hard to connect with fire. For me personally, it was really hard for me to connect with fire until I realized that when I make a change in my life, I make a change that is like the phoenix, that is like the wildfire, that is like the all-consuming fire that consumes everything and then new life is born from. I don't make subtle changes here and there. I mean, yes, but that's not really how my life goes. And when I make a change and I tell everybody in my world, they're like, whoa, that's a big change. And I can't believe you're doing that. I didn't, And this is the way that I found that I connect with fire the most. And it wasn't until I went into a forest fire burn area and I was sitting there where the forest fire had been. And we drove through the canyon and the whole area is devastated by fire. And the sad thing is this fire was started by a person, which is just horrible. But in all of that, there was new life. There were birds, there were squirrels and little rodents and, I'm sure foxes and other animals that we couldn't see. And there was new life everywhere, and it was growing. There were wildflowers that you don't normally see, but you had to stop, you had to look closer, you had to see that new growth coming from the old growth. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like, I don't connect with, I do now, but I, at the time, didn't find it easy to connect with the torch energy of fire, that slow burning, keep you warm, kind of nurturing fire. I always just was like, whatever, that's just there. And it didn't really resonate with me, but then when I connected with this energy of this forest fire and this complete transformation, and then I thought back when I gave myself my first magic name, which was actually Magic Rain, and that's back when I was like 11, it was because of the phoenix's energy to die and burn up and be reborn from those ashes. And it was that energy of fire that I connect with. So I guess long story short, you have to find parts of the element that you can connect with most and then use that as like your gateway into the other energies. Other parts about fire that we don't think about in the nurturing aspect, if you go out into the farms in February, and the whole reason that Imbolc is, and midwinter or Groundhog's Day, whatever you call that February 1st approximately holiday, this is a fire holiday because this is a time when you burn last year's crops that have been sitting feral all winter long, and you burn them. And you let the whole fields be consumed with fire, and then you till in the ash. You plow it back in, you turn it back into your soil, and that gets rid of the bacteria, that gets rid of the things that you don't want, but that leaves the plant materials that you do want. It leaves the ash and the carbon, which are really good for your soil, and you replenish that soil in this act. And so it's both cleansing and replenishing. So when we start to connect with those energies, that's how we get that the energy of fire is cleansing and protecting and nurturing, is that that's how it's been used. It nurtured the earth to the point where the earth became the earth it is. The farmers have used it to replenish their fields. Mother Nature has used it since, I imagine, the beginning of time to clear out old forests and bring in new life. If lightning strikes somewhere where there's not a lot of undergrowth or problems or issues, it's not a grassland. Lightning strikes all the time, but it doesn't always cause a forest fire. But if lightning strikes in a place where there's a lot of undergrowth or there's a vast amount of dead grass, all of these kind of things, it will burn the land through. And then there will be rain that comes after that because of the clouds and the circle of life that happens naturally in our atmosphere. That's why a lot of times when you see the signs that say burn area, watch out for flash floods, and those two words don't seem to make sense, that's why, is because in burn areas, when you start to get the smoke goes up, it changes in the atmosphere, causes a bunch of rain, the rain comes down, it creates slides in areas where that's going to happen, and then again and again and again, anytime it rains, or here in Colorado it'll snow, that then will melt and just slide right down and continue to wash stuff away and cleanse and nurture and change and mix up that earth. And this is Mother Nature's way of correcting the problems. And so that's where fire comes. So when you call onto the energy of fire, that's how it's going to come into your world, as both that nurturing flame that you cook with and that keeps you warm and that powers your house, which we'll get to in a minute, but also as that transforming energy that will scorch the things that need to be scorched and bring them to light and show you what needs to be changed and help you change them, and you can't go back. So I guess that's a place to start. And then, so we go to the nurturing energy. So it not only nurtures through that it transforms things into what we can eat and things that what earth can reuse, but it also nurtures in that it keeps us warm and that it gave us light. So if you think back to our ancestors, when it was dark, it was dark. And yeah, they had the glow of the little fire, and that would give them some light, but all in all, I mean, if you watch like those nature shows where they have to go out like naked and afraid, think about your ancestors like that. That's how they lived their whole life. Not afraid, but naked and in the woods and with no whatever. They got, they made tools and they got to that point, but even still, it wasn't like the tools and the conveniences that we have today. So when they had their campfire, they only had a certain amount of wood. Wood was hard to keep. It was probably a lot more wet. Like, just a whole fire was not as easy then as it is now. And therefore, it wasn't like on candles and in all of the ways. And so as fire evolved throughout time and people learned how to use this tool more efficiently and more effectively and use this nurturing, caregiving energy more, it transformed into candles and into lanterns and into different kinds of things. And then we harnessed the electricity from lightning and then threw out other forms of energy, and we figured out how to make this energy. And so fire is not just stuck in the sun and the flame. Its energy is also in electricity. And anytime you plug in, you are connecting with that energy. And so even when you use your computer, it is flowing with that energy of fire that's going through there. And I think that that's part of the reason it's so easy for people to just burn you with their words, is because it's easy to type like that when you've got that energy of fire flowing through you. You're just go, 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 go. And so the electricity flows all through our homes and is all around us. And this is another energy of the aspect of fire. And your stove, obviously, and just different things, your heater, all of those things. We've used gas and all of the ways that we've connected and harnessed and worked with fire. And even in that, you still have to remember that you can get burned from that. And that's the energy of fire. Like I said, it is both nurturing, but it is honest and brutal, and this is how it is. There is no sugarcoating it with this energy. It is that wise dad who just sits in his spot and he says, you know what, I've seen this. I've seen this 100 times. I've seen this over and over again. I already know how this is going to play out. You can listen to my words, or you can fall on your face and learn from your own mistakes. But that's how fire is going to approach you. It is going to say, this is the lesson that I've learned, and here it is to teach you. If you don't want to take it, you can learn it on your own. And trust me, you'll get there, because the energy of fire has been here as the first element in the beginning and creating. And so it's seen everything a time or two, and there are no surprises. And it is a grand, vast, all-encompassing, wise, noble energy. And see, now I'm rambling. There you go. Oh my goodness. Okay. See, it's time to stop. The energies are coming to me. They said it's time to stop. So just a couple brief things to go over. Just kind of sum it all up. You can find so many places. I mean, Wikipedia has a great reference for all of the elements and learning about the elements. But again, I think that the best way to connect with the elements is to go out and be with them. So it's almost noon probably right now. It's almost noon. The sun hasn't quite, it's right about 11:30. But there's a way that you can connect with the sun that you didn't even think about. Start looking at where the sun is throughout the day and tracking what time it is. Look at it throughout the year. We track the moon as it goes through its cycle, because its cycle is short, and we can see that in the short span in the year. The sun cycle is long, so right now it is at its peak. This is the full sun. We are getting the full sun here in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, they're getting the dark sun. So it's the opposite, obviously, because they're on the other side of the earth. But that long transition, you can see as the sun rises in the east where it rises, and it will move. And that's why we get these amazing sun circles from like Aborigines and natives and a lot of places, even like Stonehenge and stuff like that, because the sun moves from east to west. It moves from south to north throughout the year in the eastern rising sun. And so if you watch that, you don't have to go out at dawn. You just at some point in the morning look over and just start taking note. Start taking note at noon. I can see the sidewalk on my patio is creeping closer. Soon the sun's about to peek over the top, and then I won't be in the shade anymore. And I know it's about noon. But just find ways to connect with the energy in that way, and seeing it in a more natural way. And also then recognizing it as the power when you plug into the wall, or when you cook your food, or when you have a grand transformation that can't be undone. And those are the transformations of fire. And it's like a forward progression. There is no going back. You just go forward. And that's one of the lessons in life that we learn, is that you just go forward. And through each experience, you are learning a new lesson, and you are moving forward. And those are the lessons that fire helps to teach us. So, yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Maybe I will share a guided meditation about fire tomorrow. I'll think about it. And I hope everybody is having a great summer. And I hope that you are enjoying the sun and that fiery energy, and that it is helping you to reflect and see the success that you have, and give you that honest, nurturing push to move forward, so that you can be all it is that you should be. Not go Army. I mean, go Army. But let's not. Sorry. See, I've been on here way too long. I hope everybody likes and subscribes, and the more videos, the more goofy I get, apparently, or not goofy. I don't know. Whatever. Like, subscribe. I hope you enjoy. Always ask questions. Let me know. And I hope that you are having a grand and blessed day and a fantastic summer. See you later.